Little John Fogerty for you, CCR, on this Thursday morning. Bernie and Sid back on the air after an off day yesterday here on legendary 77 WABC. And thrilled to be back with New York City, all you folks. Funny, he plays this song, Center Field, by John Fogerty, after a couple of disastrous losses by the Mets.
Horrible.
Oh, man.
Yo, Anus got robbed.
What's that?
What happened?
Who's Anus?
Come on, let's not be silly.
Gary Sanchez continues his torrid pace for the Yankees. 19 home runs in 45 games. 2 more home runs against Tampa Bay yesterday.
What's going on? It's like a seesaw, a roller coaster. If the Yankees were out, the Mets were up. Now it's the opposite. I can't take it, Sid. So you were out at the golf outing yesterday.
I'm sorry. I want to talk about that with you, but I literally looked at the screen for 1 second, the TV, and what's going on the streets of Charlotte, North Carolina. We'll get to that today as well. Just amazing. But yes, the golf tournament was yesterday. You were there for a little while with me.
I was there. Yes, I took a golf cart out, made the rounds out in the course.
What do you mean you made the rounds?
Well, I drove around to the front of the to the clubhouse and. Found my car.
Found a nice little tree somewhere where nobody was playing.
No, actually, I met a few people.
You did?
Yeah, a few nice WABC clients, advertisers.
Is that right?
Yes. Beautiful people. John Starks, I saw him.
John Starks
swinging
was
the
out
golf
there.
Club. Your friend.
My friend, the former great New York Knick. He's actually at Joe Namath's golf tournament this morning here in New York.
It's great to be a retired NBA player,
it's
right?
so great,
as long as you didn't squander all the shekels,
right.
And
he actually still works for the Knicks organization. He still works for the Knicks, and
I see him here all the time.
Yes, regular season starts in a couple of weeks.
1 floor below us, as a matter of
fact. That's
exactly
exactly right. But Pete Morgan was out there yesterday. Peerless Boilers.
He was breaking my chops because I didn't see him. But look. They gave Curtis and Kubi the day off. They gave Sid the day off. I didn't have the day off.
No, you didn't.
And I had to come back again early this. Come on,
right. You had to do Imus, and you had to do Imus again today.
I love you, Pete.
Was he breaking your balls?
A little bit,
yeah.
But as guys do, as friends do.
Right. Louis Ricart was out there yesterday. High bar shirts.
You can't say. Yeah.
Not retard.
He was great.
He's actually a pretty good golfer
and a funny guy.
Very funny guy.
You could put him in front of a microphone. Oof. But it was a good day for WABC. Curtis and Kubi.
They were out there. Rita Cosby was out there. You had Leslie Slender. You had Lou and Guns. And I'll tell you what, Tony and Rob were really funny last night. Really funny.
Not surprised.
I mean, really good. Really good.
Yep. Good. Solid comedians. I've seen Rob do his stand-up. I've seen Rob and Tony both perform, actually.
Well, Tony specifically did a whole shtick on an airplane, which was really funny. And Rob did a whole Wheel of Jordan, a whole Muslim TV. It was hysterical, bro.
Yep.
Hysterical. And then, of course, the fans were out there. Our good buddy Patsy, he was out there. Some lady and husband with Patsy. The lady was the nicest lady I've ever met.
Irene.
Is that her name?
Irene, yes. Lovely woman.
I'm not talking about Patsy's wife.
No. Shout out to Irene.
Okay, what a great lady.
My pal, and her husband, but she's adorable.
Oh, my God, I love her.
Yeah. And then I see you, Irene.
Some Joe and his wife, Joe walked up to me and said, I got to tell you, he goes, when Geraldo left, I was worried. I'm a WABC guy. I kind of liked Geraldo. He goes, I never really heard of you. I didn't know you from WFAN. I'm not a sports guy. So he was like, Bernard, and who's this guy? And he said, I started to listen, and for what it's worth, he said, you've got the best show on the station. And he was not alone in saying that yesterday.
My man.
How about that?
That's what I'm saying right there.
Yeah, he loves you. Loves you.
Was Geraldo there?
Shucks.
Geraldo was there, yeah.
Nice.
Absolutely. Comes every year. He actually operates the tequila shot on the 16th hole.
Shirtless, by the way.
Right, naked.
Yep.
We'll get to that, too.
He looks good. Speaking of that.
Somebody goes to me, so let me ask you a question. I swear to God this is true. Do you get sick and tired of trying to talk sense into that Trump nut job Bernard McCurk? And then I got to tell you this, the God's honest truth. It wasn't 5 minutes later. We sit down at dinner. Me, Kubi, Chip the sales guy, and these other 3 guys. And we start talking about, they're talking about me, whatever. And they go, no, listen, I hear Bernard try to talk sense into Sid each and every day. So in a matter of 5 minutes, you had somebody who basically said, are you tired of trying to talk sense into Bernard? And 5 minutes later,
that's right.
Bernard tries to talk to you every single day. You can't seem to figure it out.
There you have the election in a nutshell.
Right. In 5 minutes.
Basically, Colin Powell's emails sort of summed it up. Him trashing Trump and trashing Hillary, and what are we supposed to do? It's sort of that encapsulates it, as does the two questions that those people asked you. That's what it is.
That's all it is.
Bottom line. Yes. Do I get sick of trying to talk Sid into sense? No, I don't get sick of it, but it makes me want to bang his head against the wall.
Right.
Well, my own head.
Right.
Against the wall.
Of course, I feel the same way, but
that's the way it is.
Right. That's why
it's
Monday.
A free country.
That's why Monday, when we're at Hofstra University, the world is going to watch this monster event, this debate coming up on Monday night.
The Thriller at Hofstra.
It doesn't rhyme, though, like Thriller at Manila. We need something that rhymes. What rhymes with Hofstra?
We have a half a rhyme.
Okay, good enough. We'll use it.
Nothing rhymes with Hofstra.
Oh, yeah. Or as Noam calls it, Hofstra.
Hofstra.
Yeah, Hofstra University on Monday. Hofstra.
He's a snob.
He really is, isn't he?
Yeah, and plus I think he's friends with Anthony Weiner.
No. So were we not that long ago?
Oh, that's right, we were.
We were we actually defended the guy, put him on our show, had him host for us.
We tried to rehabilitate him.
We did try to help. We didn't know that it was at least allegedly as sick as he is. I mean, look, it's sick enough. Obviously, you're married, you're texting another woman, sexting. That's nasty enough. But the latest allegations, if they are true, really put this guy in a different class of sick.
He doesn't really deny them.
No.
I guess the only denial he makes is that he didn't know she was 15 years old. I guess that's the only denial.
Although her father says he knew it.
Yeah, right. But
he says he's being set. Here's what's on. He's being set up. He says it's one big hoax, and yet, like you just said, he denies nothing.
But he denies nothing. No, and in fact, he feeds into it a little bit. He sent a copy of this letter that he had her write to a teacher and her father, saying that he didn't do anything wrong to or with her. He provided a copy of the letter to the New York Post.
I saw that.
The front page of the New York Post, it says, "It's not a joke anymore." A picture of a shirtless Anthony Weiner, and Weiner's sex to teen may be criminal.
Well, yeah, the Daily News had 15, her supposed age. 15 may get you 20.
But according to the New York Post, it's not a joke anymore. But according to the Daily News, yeah, as you just pointed out, they think it is a joke. They think it's fodder for humor.
No, they're saying 15 may get you 20.
No, I get the
He's
pun.
Going away.
That's a joke.
Wow.
That's trying to be cute.
But they beat him up pretty good in the paper. They certainly did. I know they're a liberal rag, but they didn't defend Anthony Weiner here.
No.
Nobody is. Nobody is.
But
you talk about a guy. Homer's done with him now as of a couple of weeks ago. I mean, the guy's got nobody defending him. Cuomo wants to put him away.
We don't know if it's true. We don't know all the facts yet. So.
Yeah, but it's not like there's a history of any.
We do know this, that he texted a picture of himself with his child on the bed.
Which is bad.
In the last round of text to some other girl. And then I think there's an allegation that he did so with this chick as well.
Yes.
With this girl, this 15-year-old.
And according to what I read this morning, that's where she. No. It's not that she saw the picture of him and his son,
and that's what made her disgust.
And it turned her off. Exactly right. Pissed her off. Yeah.
So yes, he faces 15 at a minimum, 15 to 30.
Well, this is going to be tough to actually prosecute him, I would think. But either way, he's done. Right? He's finished. And what's this guy going to do?
But how does this all reflect on us? That we said, hey, you know what? He's not a bad guy.
Well,
let's give him a shot.
It's worse on you.
Why is it me?
Because I distinctly remember month 4 of our relationship, I had to go to San Francisco so Danielle can run the Big Sur Marathon, and he sat in with you in my stead for 2 days, and you loved it. Oh, he's terrific. He's not you, but he's great.
Wait, wasn't he on with us before that, though?
He was on with us.
He was a guest. He was great. He was nice.
So we brought him in as a guest. With you and I both brought him in.
Yes.
And we both decided that we liked him, and he said he's a regular guy.
I hate this.
And we're going to rehab this guy.
Then the truth is the consensus amongst the bosses here was that he was good. Good talk show host, could be really good If, in fact, there's nothing else nasty out there, we're going to give this guy a shot. And, of course, it took that last Monday before Schwab was like, okay, that's it. It's over. That's it. It's
So I kind of feel right now like because we gave him I feel like Huma Abedin right now.
Oh, absolutely.
You know?
Screw
I feel
you.
used.
Absolutely.
God, Bernie.
I do.
You should.
I want to file for some sort of
Listen,
psychological divorce. From
I
this guy.
distinctly remember he'd be sitting at Lou Rufino's desk on his phone, texting. Before the show would start, you'd be in your office. I'd be walking in. He'd be sitting here in this guest chair, texting. Now, I didn't know. I thought maybe he was texting. I don't know whom, let's say. He could have been talking to a 15-year-old chick right here.
Let's just say, hypothetically, that he didn't know he was texting a 15-year-old girl. Let's just say that.
How old did he think she was?
Well, let's just say it was she was of legal age.
Okay, all right.
He continued his behavior.
Right.
But it wasn't a 15-year-old girl. He didn't know it was a 15-year-old girl.
Right.
Would we still be cool with him right now?
Best friends.
I'll get him on.
1-800-848-9222. Bernie and Sid back after this.
BC.
Uma Abedin is married to Anthony Weiner, who's a sleazeball and a pervert.
Back on Bernie and Sid on 77 WABC. Trump calling another one correctly, apparently.
Well,
allegedly.
we turn on people real quick, don't we?
It seems that way. But actually not, because these things occurred while we were on vacation. Remember, he was supposed to fill in for us that day?
Yes.
And it came out that he did the baby thing, and we came back from vacation, and we said nothing. We said not a word.
We really didn't say anything.
So we didn't turn all that quickly. But this morning, it's on the front page of the New York Daily News and the New York Post, and we're not saying anything really that's not being it's in the papers.
Why do you think? I think it was Cuomo. Somebody said that he's sick and tired of hearing about Weiner. And why do you think Anthony Weiner, who has been disgraced a long time now, out of the mayoral race a long time now, why do you think he continues to get the front page? I'm just curious.
Because it's ratings.
It's such a sordid story. Is that it?
Which is why we're talking about it.
I know,
because it's that's exactly right. It's sex. Well, it's not even sex. It's sleaze. It's pornography. It's pedophilia. Perhaps.
And Hillary's running, so it's kind of.
And Huma is Hillary's number one person. By the way, he was hanging out with Hillary and at the Democratic National Convention. Let's not forget that.
Well, we did forget that. They're not mentioning Huma an awful lot in these. I read both of those articles.
No, they're being a lot of people showing Huma and the family.
The kid.
They're not doing what I just did, which was link him, her,
which
to
you
Hillary.
shouldn't do. I know I got very angry on Twitter that day, and they're like, F her, she deserves it. That was a marriage of business. She never loved him. He never loved her. Which, by the way, may not be true. All of that could be true. Some could be true. None of it could be true. But whether you like Huma or not, you can't. She's a victim here. You can't make her into a bad guy for this.
No, nor would I. And Mr. Trump, by the way, that clip we played, that's from a month ago. That's from back when Weiner was giving interviews and he was trashing Trump, and Trump came back and said that. But thus far, regarding this, he has said not a word.
Trump?
Not a word.
He's got bigger concerns. Maybe not concerns, but bigger business.
But he could easily just slip in.
Oh, he can kill him now.
He could have, but he's not going to.
Because he's irrelevant. The truth is that in the big scheme of things, outside of a salacious front page story and good fodder for you and I, Anthony Weiner is irrelevant.
That is true. He's completely irrelevant. He's been rendered irrelevant for quite some time, despite our efforts to propel him back.
We try to get him to run for mayor again.
Did you guys see the front page of the Post yesterday? It was the best cover ever.
Jennifer Aniston.
But before we move on,
I love Jennifer Aniston.
Listen, let me just say, Flirty Flipper there. What does she have on her Facebook page? She posted on her Throwback Thursday.
Unbelievable.
What you talk about? I don't know what the word is.
He's my pal.
She has a picture of herself and Anthony Weiner.
Why would you put that? I'm just curious. Why would you put that up there?
I put it Throwback Thursday.
Because I'll tell you why.
It's embarrassing.
She's fame whore isn't the isn't the right characterization, but star effer, anybody with a scintilla of notoriety or fame or whatever.
Yeah, but he's an embarrassment.
Tony Hendra, who was in the movie Spinal Tap.
Yes.
He comes in here the other day.
I had no idea. I swear to God, I was like, who let the homeless guy up?
Right. He's like 70 years old.
Oh, my God.
God bless him. He can't really see that well.
I can't tell who looked worse, him or Joey Rhodes.
Right. He looked terrible, but he's a good guy. He had his own problems, by the way, accusations that have been unfounded or whatever. So she's like, who is this loser or whatever? I told her who he is.
Yeah.
He was in the movie Spinal Tap, blah, 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 blah. And she says, well, Vic loves that movie. He was in that movie?
Yeah.
Next thing you know, she's taking pictures with the guy, posting them. She's walking him out the door.
No idea who he was.
You want to come on with Bernie and Sid?
Right. And it could have turned out that guy wasn't even that guy.
I could have lied, yeah.
You could have lied. Could have been Jimmy from house cleaning here or something. Who the hell knows?
Bernie thought that our guest coming tomorrow was the guy in the movie Bad Grandpa.
Oh, shut up. What does that have to do with this?
You did say that.
Yeah, you
I
did.
And I did not stop you because you were so excited. Like, Steve-O from Jackass, he was great in Dead Grandpa.
It was Johnny Knoxville.
Right. Who was with Steve-O in the Jackass. So
right, but I mixed the two up.
You mixed the two guys up.
Let me just say this.
It's not like you mixed up Frank Sinatra and Sammy Davis Jr.
But now
that would be messed up.
Right, it was an understandable mix-up.
Yes.
I'm not that mired in pop culture to know. All I know is I saw Bad Grandpa. It's one of the funniest movies I ever saw in my life.
Do you think it's deserving of a couple of Academy Awards?
Absolutely.
Maybe the greatest comedy ever.
They do not give comedies any Oscars ever.
Never.
For some reason. I mean, what's more uplifting than a good, funny-ass movie?
I agree.
And Bad Grandpa is absolutely gut-busting hilarious.
Did Caddyshack never win any awards?
No,
Stripes
comedies never
Airplane,
win. No, these snobs, they never give any comedies.
Really?
No. They don't even get nominated. They're not even close. They're not even mentioned. And these movies are grossing. They gross like 100 million, 150 million, whatever.
Yeah.
They give these snooty movies that make gross $7 million a year.
Yeah,
Titanic's different.
That was amazing.
That's actually a great movie.
That doesn't fit.
No, not at all.
Help my example out.
Doofus. God.
1-800-848-9222. Terrible stuff down in Charlotte.
Oh, awful.
And,
awful. And they actually bashed in the Charlotte Hornets fan store.
That was the worst part of it.
Absolutely.
No doubt about it. We're going to talk about that after Noam with the news.
77 WABC.
This is Donald Trump, and let me just say this. This is probably going to take Bernie and Sid over the top because this is going to be the #1 rated promo they've ever done. I don't even care if you listen to them.
I must tell you, I watched the shooting in particular in Tulsa. And that man was hands up. That man went to the car, hands up, put his hand on the car. I mean, to me, it looked like he did everything you're supposed to do. And he looked like a really good man.
Back here on Bernie and Sid on 77 WABC. Donald Trump obviously referring to the Tulsa, as he said, the shooting in Tulsa, Oklahoma, where there were no protests or no riots at the very least, unlike Charlotte, North Carolina, where they were just rampaged, out of control.
2 nights.
Started out as a prayer vigil last night and morphed into a riot from the 60s.
2 nights in a row, it started off relatively peaceful, and then it got crazy. And then that's why when people say things like, oh, Colin Kaepernick, that's a peaceful protest. I'm starting to think in America today, there is no such thing as a peaceful protest.
Well, listen.
Because when tensions are high, no matter what that individual may be doing, which is something as silly as or nasty as wearing a pair of pig socks and or kneeling during the national anthem, other people hop on that cause, if you will, and it becomes less than peaceful.
He is inciting, is what he's doing when he takes these publicly grandstands like that based on no facts. Now, regarding the Tulsa shooting, what Donald Trump said, you do see the guy with his hands up, and initially somebody said, oh, he may have been reaching into the car.
No.
But it turns out the window was closed.
No.
So he wasn't reaching into the car.
That guy was gunned down in cold blood, bottom line.
Okay.
And it does happen. It does happen
Right.
that way.
You have other incidents. You
Sure.
have Philando Castile, Sandra Bland was locked up and she just died. I mean, she was arrested. The cop. There are incidents.
Tamir Rice, that was disgusting. What we saw in Minneapolis.
Tamir Rice pulled out a BB gun.
12 years old. Come on, the kid was the size of.
It doesn't. You pulled out a gun. So, anyway, whatever. There are incidents.
The guy sitting in the front car, Minneapolis, Baton Rouge. That was some nasty stuff where the cops were wrong. South Carolina,
right?
Chicago,
shot in the back,
right? And those
17 shots in Chicago,
right? Those cops got into trouble as they should.
And that's the thing. There is justice to be had for a lot of these episodes and these cops who screw up or worse. Screw up is putting it mildly. When you shoot somebody 17 times as they lay on the floor, as it was the case in Chicago. But then you have you have other incidents. For example, Baltimore, where people prejudged the case and the cops did nothing wrong. I mean, it's tough to.
What about Missouri? Start right there with Michael Brown.
Ferguson, of course.
I mean, that's where it all started. All of this nonsense.
But how does this tearing down businesses?
Oh, please.
How does that help? How does that solve anything?
And then, and when I refer to these people as animals, which they are, it was on my Twitter. People responded with, "Well, what about the cops that shoot innocent black men? Aren't they animals?"
The answer is yes. The ones who are guilty of shooting them, for example, 17 times as they lay on the floor, or shooting a guy in the back. The answer to that is yes. I would, as far as calling people animals, I don't know. I'm not prepared to go there. But I will say this: there were a lot of people
jumping up and down on cop cars and breaking things. And
you know
what do you look like?
A lot of you know what that is driven by? That outside anarchists that are coming in. You have the Black Lives Matter is funded by guilty white liberals like George Soros.
Right.
These people take advantage of peaceful protests. And they turn it into like some third world country, like they did down in Charlotte, North Carolina last night.
Yeah, I saw a government official today say, if you look at the video, this is not just African American people upset in Charlotte. Take a look at the diversity of the people that are doing these things. They're whites, there's blacks, there's everybody, which goes back to your point. How many of those people actually live in Charlotte and didn't come in to help with the event?
I was watching after 1 a.m. I watched all night, but after 1 a.m., virtually all the quote-unquote protesters, they were white people. They were white people with bandanas on their faces.
Yeah.
They were not these people who started out protesting peacefully, the prayer vigil. These are these guilty white liberal, these are the animals. Those people who are standing there taunting the cops and encouraging people to break windows.
Don't insult animals.
Yeah, people get mad at that too. They're like, hey, animals don't do these things to each other. It's fine. You know what we mean. Don't get... God,
I hate when people say, you're acting like animals. My animal never acts. My animal never loots.
Yeah,
that's true.
Look, it's just it's a depressing situation all around.
Well, this North Carolina thing, they have not released a video yet. The initial story was the guy was reading a book, picking his kid up from school, and then it came out the guy had a gun. I saw one of the officials again this morning say, the big issue here is that too many black men in this country die instead of going to trial. And I would say this, whether you're black, white, no matter who you are, here's a good idea. A good idea. When you're stopped by a cop, try not to have a gun. I mean,
and listen to the cop.
Right, and listen. And when the cop tells you 4 times to put the gun down, put the gun down.
So
put your hands up.
What you have here is social media is stoking a lot of this. And this, an event happens, an incident occurs. Social media, the Black Lives Matter webpage or whatever, they put it out on social media. They distort the facts, as was the case in Milwaukee. You remember they were rioting about a month ago. They said it was a cop shot an unarmed black man in the back. Turns out it was a black cop that shot an armed man in the front. And then all of a sudden, the whole thing just disappeared.
Which is going to be, I believe, the case here in North Carolina too.
Maybe.
Right.
But I mean, what's taking them so long to release the videotape? I'm not sure.
That is a little disturbing.
Get it out there, and let's. And if there was an injustice, let's rectify.
Kind of like Trump's tax returns. If you're not hiding anything, just send it out there.
Kind of like that. 1-800-848-9222. Let's go to Mahid. Or Majid, and forgive me, from Long Island. How do you pronounce the name?
Good morning. It's Majid. You're doing just fine.
Majid, how are you?
How are you, brother?
How are you, gentlemen? Thank you. I started my career as a prosecutor, so I've had the opportunity to work with law enforcement, both as a prosecutor and as a defense attorney. I have tremendous respect for those professionals in law enforcement, and I would never condone violence against them. But I think to resolve this problem, we have to understand the mentality not only of the protesters and what they're upset about, but of the police. In the past 10, 15 years, the mentality of police has changed dramatically. They've become very militarized. Even the recruits that are being recruited by the police department now have military training. They're given preference as veterans. And their mentality is really taking this military training, being given now military weapons and tactics, and now you have to enforce civil laws in a civil population. I think that is a problem in and of itself.
Well, I don't believe for example, the female cop in Tulsa was not a military veteran. That doesn't fit that your narrative, Majid, quite. But I will say this: the black crime rate is very high, and cops go. 75% of murders are blacks killing blacks, and cops go to where the crime is. So they engage black people more, which may account for why there are more incidents.
Right.
Maybe it's for that reason that the tactics needs to change. If that's going to be the bulk of the interactions that they have, then maybe they need to address those interactions differently.
Yeah, listen, I don't have the answer. You know what? I really hate the story. I hate talking about it. I hate seeing it. It's so depressing. It's there are
well, there's no winners, because if in fact the cop shoots somebody who's unarmed, then the cop, and we love cops, that guy's no good. And then, of course, the stories where the guy is armed and the media lies about it. Even if then you try to defend the cop, you're still a racist or a bad guy. So we can't. There's no win here for anybody.
There's no win. But I would say demonizing cops, though, that is despicable and disgusting, because on two fronts. A, it's not true, because most cops are good cops. And B, it encourages the Ferguson effect. It perpetuates
100%.
that, which leads to a rise in crime and violence in the inner cities. And the people who you're supposedly protecting are the people who are dying. Because cops are not protecting them.
I still maintain the cops don't go out there that morning and wake up and go, hey, I'm going to kill a black guy today. I think basically it goes into a bad neighborhood with a high crime rate, and there is some type of interaction, and maybe these cops are a bit skittish, which again is not an excuse. They are pros. You would think they would do a better job. But if you want to work in those communities, in those neighborhoods every single day, where in lots of cases the other guy does have a gun, you may mess up. You may mess up.
That is true, but let's say take, for example, the case in Tulsa. And ironically,
that's just bad.
Why there are no protests there and there are in Charlotte. I'm not. I think Trump he nailed it. I think. I mean, if you look at the video, you feel the same way. You're like, why did they shoot the guy?
Terrible.
They tased him and they shot him at the same time. They didn't wait for the effect of the taser to take effect.
You can't make an excuse for the cop. There's nothing you can do. That's just a bad job.
Right. So
it does happen. Doesn't make it easier. Doesn't make it better.
But here's the thing.
Does happen.
I would say this: you still have last recourse, the Attorney General, the Justice Department.
Good luck.
They can press civil rights charges if the local authorities decline to prosecute. So it's you do have recourse in this country. You have the black Attorney General and a black president.
I just think at a time when racial tensions are at not an all-time high, but remind you of the 60s, let's say, that all these stories, like white people watch what's going on in Charlotte and they become angry. And African-American folks who are rioting because they feel like somebody got killed for no reason, they're angry. So all these things that are going on in what's already a very tense-filled racial society, it's just making stuff a heck of a lot worse.
Oh, certainly.
White people are getting angrier. This is the truth. You can sugarcoat it. You can talk nice about it. It's all nonsense. White people are getting angrier. Don't burn down our cities and don't carry a gun. And black people are going, don't kill my kids, when all he's doing is stopping at a traffic light. And when people go, this is good, it raises discussion. There is no discussion. One side thinks they're being treated unfairly, as does the other. That's the truth.
But you have people like America-hating people like George Soros, who funds Black Lives Matter, who he loves what he's seeing. He loves to see this. He likes these anarchists. Yeah. He doesn't want to see they don't want to see a prayer vigil. They want to see this chaos and anarchy.
They
and
really
looting.
do?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Jeez. No doubt about it. In my opinion, they do.
Wow.
And so anyway, 1-800-848-9222. Bernie and Sid back after this.
77 WABC. Traffic and Transit.
Stalled tractor trailer in Elizabeth. There is still much we don't know about what happened in both incidents, but we do know that we have 2 more names to add to a list of African Americans killed by police officers in these encounters. It's unbearable, and it needs to become intolerable.
That's Hillary Clinton, and there is news out of North Carolina about the video of what happened there after 2 nights of rioting. Welcome back to the Bernie and Sid Show right here on Legendary 77 WABC. A full board of calls. 1-800-848-WABC, 1-800-848-9222. They want to talk about this, but there is some news about the video coming out of North Carolina. And it looks as though they are not going to release it to the public. They will show it to the victim's family. And it looks as though they're not going to show it to the public, Bernard, because it doesn't really tell the police's story.
Apparently. I think that's a mistake not to release it. They're going to show it to the family first. They will eventually release it, but something stinks. Something smells. I'm not sure what it is. They say that... I think they said that it shows that he had a gun, and the story was on social media. Black Lives Matter and the rest of these agitators were saying that he didn't have a gun, he had a book. That's what they told the people.
Right.
And that's why he was waiting for his son to come home from school or something like that. But he was sitting there just reading a book. He was trying to turn his life around. And that's what was out in social media, and that's why so people were fed false information, and that's why they were pissed off and started acting a little crazy.
But I think you're wrong in that. You're wrong, but there is no gun in the video. That is part of the problem. If there was, in fact, a gun in the video, they would show it.
My understanding, and I caught a bit of, we're getting that tape now, the police chief said there was a gun, but it's not clear that he was pointing it at the police.
Ah, okay. Because I had asked Noam, and he said there was no gun in the video at all. But okay, so there was a gun, but he wasn't pointing. Where was the gun? Next to him?
Noam is out in the news right now getting that tape.
Okay.
We don't know where the gun was, and the people were, some of the reporters were badgering the police chief. Hey, you talk about transparency. How can you talk about transparency when you're not releasing the tape to the public? Show it to the family and the public simultaneously.
Right.
That's what I would think. So something smells, something doesn't sound right. But I do know this, that the online agitators that started this, throwing gasoline on a flammable situation, they're partly responsible for these stores, these businesses.
They are. But
the guy being shot in the head last night.
But if in the end we know the guy in Tulsa, I mean that was a bad job by the cops. If in the end this is also a bad job by the cops, and now you've got consecutive stories where 2 men were killed who never should have been put in that position, then we can talk about all the agitators we want. All this is going to do is further the rhetoric for the left. For Hillary and Black Lives Matter. It ain't going to help.
It still doesn't display that there's an epidemic of cops shooting blacks. I mean, these are still anecdotal. In the grand scheme of things, when you add up all the statistics of all the encounters, it's still a very, very tiny percentage.
Yeah, but it may be a tiny percentage, but it's happening now every month.
And they do
every month.
And white people are still getting shot and killed.
There's more white people than black people in the country, so obviously.
All right.
But the point is, and look, and I'm with the cops here, but
the cops
every month this is going on now, Bernard. Every month.
And the cops do face justice when they're in the wrong, I believe. And if not, the Justice Department has every right to bring charges. So, Loretta Lynch, the ball is in your court on every single one of these cases.
Well, listen,
there's recourse in every single case.
I'm not defending these people who go berserk and burn down our cities and ruin businesses and hurt people. A guy got shot last night in Charlotte. But all I'm saying is these are happening now on a monthly basis. And if it turned out that both of these, the cops were wrong, it's just going to further what is already a major issue.
Let's go to Ivan from Staten Island. I'm Bernie and Sid. Good morning, Ivan. You're on the air.
Yes, good morning, guys. Listen, I'm an African American. First of all, I'd like to say that if this Black Lives Matter movement really cared about black people, they would go into the black community and highlight the murders that's going on between blacks and blacks in the black community. You don't hear about blacks getting killed. You don't hear about look at the situation with this Juve thing. It's not publicized. What's the killing of Dwayne Wade, cousin in Chicago? That's not publicized. This Black Lives Matter movement is just being used for their own political agenda. They don't give a damn about black people. Period.
You're right
That's
about
what blacks need to know.
It's being funded by people, as I said earlier, by white liberals like America-hating people like George Soros. And you're right, they're exploiting the situation is what they're doing because they hate this country, and they want to. They're the agitators. You see, as I said last night, after midnight, for example, the majority of the demonstrators out there, protesters, whatever you want to call them, they were white people. All the peaceful protesters had gone home by then, the prayer vigil people.
Exactly. And that's what's going on. The black community, they use that word for black community. There's no black community because what's going on in the black community is a free-for-all. There is no respect. The older people in the black community are terrified. They love to see the police around because when they see the police around, they can come outside. They feel comfortable outside. The music is driving the violence in the black community. The young has no respect for the old in the black community. So when they use this word black community, I don't know what they're talking about, black community. And this also precipitates what's going on in the black community. The precipitation of this is that the police have to be in the black community because there's so much more violence within the black community as compared to the surrounding communities. I mean, if you go to look at the Asians, you never see a police stopping an Asian and somebody getting killed out of that. You don't see the police doing that. So what's going on?
Because the crime, they go to where the crime is, essentially is what you're saying, Ivan, and thank you for a good phone call. 75% of the murders in this country are blacks killing blacks, which is why cops are there. And they engaged black people more, so there were more incidents, unfortunate, sad, tragic incidents. Joe from New York City, you're on with Bernie and Sid on WABC. Good morning, Joe.
Yeah, guys, how you doing?
Hey, Joe.
One of the things that isn't being looked at, and I'm not sure if it has anything to do with it, but there's been over the last several years they've changed the criteria for becoming a police officer. They've lowered the standards to make police departments, fire departments, the military more diverse, and in doing that, they've lowered the standards to become a police officer. So when you lower the standard to allow a group to enter the force, you lower the standard for everybody. No matter if you're lowering it to allow more women in, you're lowering it to allow a lower caliber of men and everyone to join the police force. I'm not sure if that has anything to do with it.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say that that's all true. That may be true, but I'm not sure that has anything to do with any of these shootings.
I would say this, Joe, to your point, and again, I don't know if it's true or not, but yesterday, these past two shootings, one was a black cop and the other was a female cop.
Right.
So I don't know. I just don't know. Nobody knows. There's no studies being done, but thank you for a good call. John from Long Island, you're on with Bernie and Sid on WABC. Good morning, John.
Morning, guys. Guys, listen, I've been in law enforcement for 34 years. I haven't seen the tape from Tulsa. Obviously, nobody's seen the other one from Charlotte.
Well, there was no gun in Tulsa. There was a tape out there.
You should see it, John.
I just wanted to tell you guys, I heard you guys talking about, we don't know if the gun was pointed at the cop or not. Listen, I've been in a lot of situations where guys have had guns in their hands. If you don't drop it after I tell you to drop it, that means you're thinking about doing something else with it. And I'm not going to wait for you to point it at me and shoot me.
Listen, I'm
going to shoot you if you refuse to drop it.
And that's why when the gun is next to the guy in the front seat, but he's not holding it, I'm more inclined to believe you on that. The issue becomes here, John, that in a couple of these cases, there was no gun. There just was no gun.
Well, we don't know that about the Charlotte case.
We don't know that one yet, but we do know that about Tulsa. We do know that about Baton Rouge. We do know that about Eric Garner. There's plenty where we do know that.
Well, listen, don't bring Eric Garner and Michael. I mean, they're not in the same breath. I wouldn't mention Michael Brown, but Eric.
I did not mention Michael Brown.
No, I know
because he was a thug and a bad guy.
If Eric Garner had surrendered, he'd be alive talking to us today. That's the bottom line. You do not have a right to resist a lawful arrest. You don't have that right.
You do.
You have the court.
if you listen to the cop, nothing bad will happen to you.
Basically.
You'll be arrested, but you're going to be arrested anyway. But
then you have recourse. There's recourse.
Exactly. But there are other incidents. For example, Philando Castile, disturbing. Yeah. They stopped him. Remember his girlfriend was she sort of narrated
Minnesota,
his death.
Minneapolis, yes.
Right. So you have disturbing incidents.
Well,
I don't know what the.
But he had a gun on him, that guy, didn't he?
But he told the cop he had a gun in the glove compartment.
The cop still went berserk and shot him.
So there are some, and I don't know what the outcome of that case was.
Neither do I.
I'm sure they're still investigating. It takes a long time, but again. You have the Justice Department run by the former Brooklyn federal attorney, Loretta Lynch.
These folks ain't waiting. These folks in these cities are not waiting for Loretta Lynch to get to it.
The Black Lives Matter people, the George Soros people, the people who go online and agitate and then throw gasoline on the fire and fill people's minds with false facts, the ones who said that the guy in North Carolina, they said that he was sitting there with a book and he didn't have a gun. It turns out it sounds like he had a gun, according to the chief down there in Charlotte, North Carolina, the black police chief, that he had a gun. He's just saying that it doesn't seem like the gun was pointed toward the cops when he was shot. That's what he said in the press conference. Noam Laden is going to bring in the tape in a little bit. Marcos from Pine Brook, New Jersey. You're on with Bernie and Sid on WABC. Good morning, Marcos.
Hey there. Marco, so you're there.
Let's go to Rich. Rich from Old Bridge, New Jersey. Rich, good morning.
Hey, guys. Love the show. Good morning. Listen, I wanted to respond real quick to something that Sid said earlier in regards to how white people feel and black people feel.
Yeah.
The white people, he says, are bent out of shape because they see the looting, the damage to property, the abuse to cops.
Right.
And I would agree with that.
Right.
The black people, he said, want cops to stop shooting their kids at traffic stops.
Right.
Now, how often, if ever, does that happen?
Listen, it happened. Minneapolis was a traffic stop, so
okay.
But it was just a use of. Yes, Rich, we get it.
Relatively speaking,
right.
That's a gross exaggeration. It's irresponsible, and that's what the media does.
That's not irresponsible. That's stupid. There have been people who have been shot, whether it's at a traffic stop, whether it's on a corner of a street. The word traffic stop doesn't matter in that equation. It's the fact that somebody seemingly innocent is getting shot. You're concentrating on traffic stop, which, by the way, is kind of silly.
A traffic stop.
Yeah. Okay. So there was one guy in Minneapolis who was at a traffic stop that was about as gruesome and heinous and memorable as it ever gets. That was at a traffic stop. That doesn't mean everyone is at a traffic stop, but you're concentrating on where it happens instead of what's happening. How silly is that?
You say like a general statement like that, and people hear that on the radio.
Rich, you're being stupid. You're being stupid.
We don't have to name call. Rich,
please.
Listen.
I can't. You're being stupid.
Rich, thank you for the call, Rich.
Traffic stop, street corner, front seat, bus. What's the difference?
Philando Castile was a traffic stop, and he was shot in a gruesome manner. Again, I'm going to look that up. I don't know what the outcome. I don't know what the how it was adjudicated.
There was
probably still being investigated.
There was a guy in Memphis last summer too that was stopped at a traffic stop. It was just I just used traffic stop with that.
Right. Okay.
Obviously, it's not every single time.
Good times, man. Good times. 1-800-848-9222. Bernie and Sid back after this.
Enormously successful. 77 WABC.
Well, Ray Kelly did a great job, and New York was not in a Chicago situation, but it was really in trouble. It was in bad shape crime-wise, and with all of the shootings and everything. And Rudy Giuliani did a great job as mayor, and they really straightened things out with stop and frisk. Now Chicago is out of control, and I was really referring to Chicago with stop and frisk. They asked me about Chicago, and I was talking about stop and frisk for Chicago, and where you had 3,000 shootings so far this year, 3,000 from January 1st. And obviously, you can't let the system go the way it's going.
Back on Bernie and Sid on 77 WABC. Donald Trump discussing the situation in Chicago, stop and frisk, citing the success here in New York City, which some would dispute and say, hey, it corresponded with the decrease of the crack epidemic, the decrease of crack use.
Right. That's
how they countered that argument, that stop and frisk brought down the crime rate. Now, we were just watching some video from last night. I saw some of these punk kids just smashing windows. And by the way, most of what I saw on this video, they were white kids.
Half and half.
All right, and you see them taunting the police who were there to try. Remember the police that were trying to protect the crowds in Dallas, who were shot randomly from the. They're heckling those same police, those same types of police. They're there to protect the crowds and maintain a peaceful protest. Is what they're doing. And these morons are heckling those peaceful cops who did nothing wrong.
They don't look like pros, though. They're like a bunch of skinny, white kids with Charlotte Hornet basketball hats on. And
those are the professional anarchists.
Those are them?
Yeah, they go around. They go from place to place. It takes them a day or two. The first night they weren't there, but it takes them a while to organize and get a ticket, come out of their little homeless shelter.
Don't they have jobs?
No, of course not. You kidding me?
They definitely have jobs.
And I would remind those people, see these cops with the helmets.
Riot gear,
all that stuff. They're there to try to protect people, to protect people's right to protest peacefully is what they're doing. And they're being taunted and heckled and bottles are thrown at them. And, I mean, for example, we had the maniac with the meat cleaver here in New York City last week. He was tackled by an off-duty cop, a cop who would otherwise be in one of these lines here with the riot, one of these phalanxes. With the riot, that's who you're heckling and taunting. People who protect your life, black or white. Same thing with the cop in Minnesota.
Yeah,
most cops are good people.
Oh, the overwhelming majority.
Come on. It sounds so trite at this point, but it needs to be said. These horrible things are happening.
This is going to be very anti-American when I tell you this, because I know that one of the great things about our country is the freedom to protest. The more I see what's going on in this country lately, and I weigh the pros and the cons outside of your right to do it, which is a beautiful freedom, but the actual pros and cons of how effective they are, I think we should outlaw protesting in this country. I swear to God, because how many times does it actually work compared to what we're seeing today, which is this?
Rioting is illegal. But to protest on a sidewalk, you could never. The right to assembly, that's First Amendment.
I get it. So you got three guys standing in front of Boca Town Center Mall on Glades Road. We love Israel. That doesn't accomplish anything. And the real big protests that turn into riots, that makes our country look like a mess.
1-800-848-9222. Bernie and said, stay there. Let's listen to Noam. He's got some news update on this situation.
77 WABC. News. Download it now. Upload the BS. 77 WABC.
Well, I'm the naked cowboy. Keeping it real for you. Hey, this is the Naked Cowboy, and you're listening to the Bernie and Sid Show.
Just know that all white people are devils.
And make sure you air that one.
Air that.
Don't take that
all
one.
White cops are devils and white people.
Back on Bernie and Sid on 77 WABC. Man, there is some hate out there.
God damn.
Jeez.
Damn.
What is happening
That wasn't Muggsy Bogues there.
Muggsy Bogues just on CNN saying we need kindness and respect.
Right.
He was a Charlotte. What was his name?
Charlotte
Hornet.
Yeah. He still lives in Charlotte, so he's witnessing this firsthand. Some guy called up. I was saying before the break, I was obviously being facetious about outlawing protesting. But my point is, when it comes to the small stuff, you get two or three guys on the corner holding up a sign. I'm not sure how effective that is. But when we get to the real serious stuff today, like what's going on with the police and the communities or the Iraq war, it seems like almost every single time now it turns into some type of riot situation. So I'm only kidding about outlawing, but my real question is, how effective is it really? Because the insignificant stuff, nobody cares. You're not really getting anything done. And for the important issues, turns into riots. How effective is it?
The protests. Well, they can be effective. I mean, it helps people vent.
Like this?
Not like this. If it turns into riots, which is what occurred last night. Disgusting, by the way. Disgusting. It goes without saying. Despicable. Guy was shot in the head by another rioter. Oh. And the way they're destroying businesses. Innocent people are getting. How stupid is it? What kind of stupidity and ignorance?
And I'm trying to remember the last time there was a big scale protest Again, not 7 guys on the corner of Glades Road. A big-scale protest where there wasn't some type of issue. I don't remember.
There were. I hate to invoke his name, but ass clown Al Sharpton led a peaceful protest after the Eric Garner killing.
Okay.
It was peaceful.
I wasn't here. Okay.
Okay. It was peaceful.
All right.
I mean, you can protest peacefully. And Black Lives Matter, they were protesting, what was it, last year or the year before in the streets here. And most of that was peaceful. There were nobody here, not here in New York. There weren't storefronts being shattered.
No.
People being shot in the head. White people being slaughtered, not slaughtered.
I mean, even when they had
stomped
the big,
in a parking garage. You have to see this video.
The big protest when everybody here laid down on the Brooklyn Bridge, even that was not filled with.
That's exactly
violence.
right. So protests are effective. They can be effective.
Well, I'm not sure they're effective, but they can be nonviolent.
Okay,
that's my point.
Whatever it is.
How effective they are. Is legislation changing because these people are walking down the streets in their underwear on the Brooklyn Bridge? I don't think so.
I'll tell you what you have. You have people who are out there inciting. You have the Black Lives Matter on social media, the white-run, George Soros-funded, guilty white liberal Black Lives Matter. You have people like, and I don't want to politicize this, but Hillary Clinton and President Obama prejudging police cases, demonizing cops, and Colin Kaepernick, who doesn't know what he's talking about, essentially demonizing cops.
Let me stop you right there. Donald Trump wins the presidency. He's already told us when he takes over office, another moronic comment, when he takes over, all this stuff is going to stop. It's just going to stop because he's Donald Trump. So he's now the president of the United States. And a guy gets pulled over in, you give me the city of choice. Give me the city.
Detroit.
Okay?
Yeah.
And he's killed by a cop, and it turns out he's got no gun. Now, there's no Hillary Clinton. There's no Barack Obama. Donald Trump is the president. Are you going to be crazy enough to tell me you're not going to have the same exact reaction because this idiot is in the White House and not those idiots?
No, it really won't make that much of a difference.
Of course.
But listen, what he would tell you, of course, is that he'll make economic conditions better. Schools, the economy, that, and the other. That's what he'll tell you. I'm not trying to politicize
That's a pipe dream. That is a pipe dream.
Regardless, we've had a black president in office for 8 years, and what do we have now?
It's gone backwards.
As he's on his way out.
I agree. It's gone backwards.
That's what, so look, and why is that too? Because they're perpetuating ignorance. There is no epidemic of cops shooting. We see these are isolated incidents. I mean, there's too many of them. I would agree with you on that.
And they're starting to become, like I said earlier, monthly.
But you have people like these George Soros, guilty white liberal funded Black Lives Matter. They're exploiting these incidents because they hate this country. They want to see this sort of anarchy in the streets. That's what they're doing right now, and it's resulting. It's very divisive. Look, who in their right mind, who doesn't want to see a cop brought to justice for shooting an innocent black man? Does anybody?
Yes, I think the people that are riding in the streets don't want to see the cop brought to justice. They would rather kick him in the face and kill him right there in the street.
All right, but people like you and I and every right-thinking
people, of course.
I mean, so who doesn't want that? And so each case gets investigated individually and gets adjudicated. And again, I hate to be repetitive, but then you have the Justice Department run by a black woman. Before her was Eric Holder, a black man.
Right.
That's your firewall there. I mean, if it's not adjudicated to your satisfaction or to their satisfaction, they can bring charges themselves.
Donald Trump is in Pittsburgh right now. He is saying drugs are a very, very big factor in what you're watching. Drugs.
Well, let me just tell you, if you have you look at some of these cities, these inner cities, you have angry people because the economic conditions are
horrendous, and they are riddled with drugs.
And they're riddled with drugs.
Yes,
and of course, he'll bring it around to the drugs. 75% of the drugs on the streets of Chicago come from Mexico.
Okay, so if you shoot down Mexico, you think somebody else is not going to take it over?
You don't shoot down Mexico, but if you cut off the supply, but you start.
There'll be somebody else. There'll be somebody from Colombia.
Baby steps.
He's not going to stop the drugs from coming into the country. They're making too much money.
He's got to build a wall.
Yeah, baby steps. Listen, we don't want to politicize this. We really don't. He has no magic solution.
But you don't think Monday night he's going to say, hey, you guys are part of the problem here with some of with the reactions after some of these shootings? You don't think he's going to bring that up?
And I think he should, because I already just mentioned that they're part of the problem. That she's pandering. She goes in front of black audiences and talks about how cops are racist, that we got to change the system, implying that there's a racist law enforcement system in this country. And people say, yeah, you're right. Yeah, there is. Yeah. And so they have that in their heads, and then something happens, and they read these distorted facts online that on social media that Black Lives Matters and other people put out, and you put the two together, and it's a tinderbox. And you have white guys in parking lots getting beat up that had nothing to do with it, getting stopped. You got to go to the Drudge Report and check this out, man. This is sick. And you have businesses being torn down and burned and looted.
God.
These people are hardworking people that started these businesses, had nothing to do with it. And this makes no sense. And this is because people are grandstanding like Hillary, pandering, Colin Kaepernick, distorting the facts, and it's really despicable and disgusting.
Remember after 9/11 when we were all united?
Yeah, that was like a week and a half.
What happened?
I missed that.
Yeah, for like a week and a half, people love cops.
So what are you saying?
10 days later, they were pigs again.
Are you calling for another?
No,
a good terrorist attack will fix everything.
Why can't
we'll be fine. We'll love each other again.
We should remember that we were all united and go back.
You know, it's funny because
that's such a sweet sentiment.
This conversation becomes so depressing.
I hate it.
And I'm like, can't we go back to talking about we talked about to start the show, Anthony Weiner? And I'm like, oh my God, that's even more depressing.
No, I don't think so.
You don't think so? Sexting pedophilia?
No, but look, it's not more depressing than this.
No.
This
is as depressing as it gets?
It is. And I think Rocco has a good point.
Right.
It's a valid point because the Democrats have been running cities and for many years. Rocco from Long Island, you're on with Bernie and Sid on WABC. Good morning, Rocco.
Good morning, guys. You guys have a great show.
Thanks, Rocco.
I've been in the construction industry all my life. I worked in the South Bronx, East New York, Harlem. Back in the 70s, exactly what's happening today happened then. The Democrats promises. They appease these people. They give them nothing. They get their votes, and they keep them in limbo all these years. They do nothing and nothing for them, and the kids get stuck in the environment, never get out. How is anybody going to get out of there? They make nothing but promises and do nothing for them.
It's true.
Nothing but votes. And I've seen it back in the 70s right up till today, and it's never changed.
Look at Baltimore, look at Chicago, all Democratic-run cities that are on the decline, violence up, way up. And then you have the Ferguson effect. You have people demonizing cops, and the cops are afraid now to be proactive, so crime is rising even more. And people
city too, by the way, very downtrodden city. Because
of the grandstanding and the pandering with false facts, people actually are hurting, are getting killed, and now you have people getting the riots down in Charlotte, North Carolina. People getting. You got to see this video on Drudge. It's so disturbing.
Watch it now. We'll take a break. I'll watch the video. We'll come back and wrap things up on the Bernie and Sid show right after this.
77 WABC.
Sid, great show. We're out of time.
It was great.
Yep.
That's it.
We're done. We'll be back tomorrow. Bernie and Sid, Curtis and Kubi are coming up next, and we pray for peace.
Yeah, peace on the streets, folks. Peace on the streets.